A stack of coins hit the auction table, and before anyone could laugh again, the cowboy's voice cut through the dust. "She's with me. Marry me for 1 year." So why would a man like him stake his name on a stranger in front of the whole town? The rope rail creaked under shifting weight, horses snorting in the heat as Iris kept her hand steady on her worn ledger. She didn't step back when the clerk pushed her papers aside, didn't argue when the crowd leaned in to watch. Then the coins struck wood, sharp, final. The man beside her didn't look at the crowd, only at her, like the answer mattered more than the noise. His hand closed around her wrist, not tight, just certain. And suddenly, leaving wasn't the hardest choice anymore. Would you have said yes? Stay a little longer and tell me. The wind came first. It rolled down Main Street in Dry Creek like it owned the place, dragging red dust behind it, rattling hitching posts, lifting the edges of hats. Horses stamped and snorted. A loose gate clanged somewhere near the auction yard. Iris Bennett stepped off the supply wagon and felt the grit hit her face before her boots even found the ground. She didn't brush it away. She tightened her grip on the worn leather satchel at her side and walked straight toward the crowd. The auction was already in full swing. Men called numbers over each other. A bay stallion circled inside the pen, muscles tight, eyes wild. Coins changed hands. Paper changed hands faster. Money moved here like weather. Iris stopped just outside the wooden rail and waited for a pause that never came. So she stepped forward anyway. "Excuse me," she said. No one heard her. She tried again, louder this time. "I'm looking for Mr. Talbot. I was told he needed help with records." That got a glance. The man behind the table, thin, sleeves rolled, pencil tucked behind one ear, looked her over from boots to collar. His eyes lingered on the satchel, the worn cuffs of her coat, the dust she hadn't bothered to wipe away. "Not today," he said, already turning back to his ledger. "I have a letter," Iris replied. She pulled the folded paper from her bag, edges soft from being opened too many times. "From Miss Carter in Billings. She said you—" I said not today. A few men nearby slowed their talking. One of them chuckled under his breath. Iris held the letter out anyway. "If you'd just read," Talbot didn't take it. "We're busy. Come back next week. Or don't." The chuckle turned into laughter. Not loud, not kind either. "Lady picked a fine day to go job hunting," someone muttered. Another voice, closer this time. "Might be she ain't looking for work." More laughter. Iris lowered the letter slowly. Her fingers stayed on the paper a second longer than they needed to. "I was told—" "You were told wrong," Talbot cut in. "I got hands. I got boys who know cattle and books both. I don't need—" He gestured vaguely in her direction. "This." The word hung there without landing. Dust lifted again, a stronger gust this time. It swept through the yard, stung the eyes, made the horses pull at their reins. For a moment, everyone turned away. Everyone but her. Iris stood still, the letter still in her hand, the noise of the auction rising back up around her like nothing had happened. She could walk away. She knew the road back to the station. She knew how much money she had left. She knew exactly how far it would get her. Not far. A man near the rail leaned in just enough for his voice to carry. "You lost, miss?" Iris didn't answer. She folded the letter once, carefully, like it still mattered. Then she turned. A shadow fell across the table. It didn't move like the others. Didn't hurry. Didn't speak right away. Bootsteps, slow and even, crossed the packed dirt, heavy enough to be heard over the horses. Talbot looked up, irritation already on his face. Then it shifted. Not fear. Not quite. something quieter. The man who stepped forward was tall, not the kind of tall that drew attention for show, the kind that made space without asking for it. Broad shoulders, dust on his coat, hands that looked like they knew work. He didn't look at Talbot first. He looked at Iris. Just once. Quick, like he was checking something. Then he set a small stack of bills on the table. The sound was soft, final. "She's with me," he said. That was all. No explanation, no glance at the crowd. The laughter died before it could finish. Talbot opened his mouth, then closed it again. His eyes flicked from the money to the man, then back to the money. "Well, if that's the case, it is." The man turned then, fully, facing Iris. Up close, his eyes were pale, not cold, just hard to read, like sky before a storm. For a second, neither of them spoke. Then he reached out. His hand closed around her wrist, not tight, not rough, just enough to stop her from stepping back. Iris didn't pull away. The yard had gone quiet in a way that didn't belong in a place like this. Even the horses seemed to settle, ears flicking, waiting. Dust moved between them, slow and red. "Marry me for 1 year," he said. No one laughed this time. Somewhere behind them, a bridle chain clinked. A horse stamped once, then stilled again. Iris looked down at his hand on her wrist, then up at his face. There was no smile there, no apology, no sign he'd take the words back. Just a man standing in the middle of a yard full of witnesses, offering something that sounded like a mistake and felt like a door. "You don't even know my name," she said. His grip didn't change. "I know enough." The wind picked up again, pushing dust between them, catching the edge of her coat, tugging at his sleeve. Around them, people waited. For her to laugh, for her to refuse, for the moment to break. Iris felt the weight of every eye without turning her head. She could walk away. She could leave him standing there with his hand out, his money on the table, his words hanging in the air like a bad joke. She should. Instead, she asked, quiet enough that only he could hear, "And when the year ends?" His answer came without pause. "You walk away with what you came here for. Work, money, a chance, or something else entirely." Iris glanced once at the folded letter still in her hand, then back at him. The dust settled, just for a moment. "Fine," she said. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. His hand loosened, but didn't leave. Somewhere behind them, the auction started up again, louder than before, like it had to make up for the silence. "Name's Gideon Hale," he said. Iris nodded once. "Iris Bennett." He released her wrist then, but the space between them didn't open back up. It held, like something had already started moving, and neither of them quite knew how to stop it. The ride out of Dry Creek was quiet. Gideon didn't ask questions, didn't look back. He rode ahead, steady, like the road had already been decided for both of them. Iris followed. Her borrowed mare had a stiff gait and a tendency to pull left. She adjusted the reins without thinking, the way she used to when she rode supply lines along the Missouri. Muscle memory, habit, something that still belonged to her. The town fell behind. The noise went first, then the dust, then the eyes. What stayed was the weight of what she'd just agreed to. They reached the ranch near sundown. Hale Ranch didn't announce itself with signs. It rose out of the land like it had always been there. Long fences, clean lines, a windmill creaking slow and steady, rows of stalls, a main house set back just enough to watch everything without being part of it. Work moved even at that hour. A man hauling feed paused. Another lifted a hand to Gideon, then looked at Iris longer than necessary. No one asked questions, not out loud. Gideon dismounted first, tied his horse, then turned to her. "Inside," he said. That was all. The house smelled like coffee gone cold, and wood smoke that had settled into the walls years ago. Boots by the door, a coat hanging on a nail, a table with a ledger open and a pen resting across it like someone had walked away mid-thought. Iris noticed that before anything else. Numbers, columns, messy. "You can read books?" Gideon asked. She didn't look up from the page. "Better than most." He nodded once, like that answered something he hadn't asked yet. "You'll handle that," he said, tapping the ledger with 2 fingers. "Debts, orders, payroll, anything that goes through paper." "And the marriage?" she asked. He leaned back against the wall, arms folded. "That's for the town." "Not for you?" A pause. "For both of us," he said finally. It wasn't a soft answer, but it wasn't careless either. Iris closed the ledger gently. 1 year. 1 year. "No lies between us," she said. His eyes shifted, just a fraction. "We'll keep it simple." "That's not the same thing." "No," he agreed. "It's not." A door opened behind them. "I figured you'd bring trouble back sooner or later." The voice was smooth, controlled, familiar with getting what it wanted. Iris turned. Clara Whitfield stood in the doorway like she belonged there. Clean dress, gloves still on, not a speck of dust anywhere on her. She looked at Iris once, then again, slower. "So this is your solution?" Clara said. "You replace an engagement with improvisation?" Gideon didn't move. "This isn't your concern." Clara smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Everything you do is my concern." Her gaze returned to Iris. "Do you know what people are saying already?" Iris didn't answer. Clara stepped closer. The floorboards barely made a sound under her weight. "They think you're clever," she said lightly. "Walking in off the road and leaving with a name." "I didn't ask for one," Iris replied. Clara tilted her head. "No, but you didn't refuse it either." Silence stretched between them. Gideon pushed off the wall. "That's enough." Clara looked at him then. Something flickered there. Not hurt, not quite. "You'll regret this," she said quietly. "Maybe." She nodded once like she'd expected no other answer. Then she turned and left. The door shut behind her with a soft, final click. Iris let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "She'll keep coming back," she said. "Yes." "And you'll let her?" "For now." Iris picked up the ledger again, flipped a page, then another. Something didn't line up. A shipment of grain listed twice. Same date, different totals. She ran her finger down the column, then back up. "Who handles inventory?" she asked. Gideon watched her now. "Not the ledger. Owen, mostly." "I'll need to see the storage logs. You just got here, and someone's already taking from you." That landed. Not hard, but enough. Gideon crossed the room and looked down at the page beside her. His shadow covered half the numbers. "Show me," she pointed. He didn't argue. Outside, a horse kicked against its stall. Metal rang. Someone shouted a name. Life kept moving. Inside, Iris turned another page. "Leave the lamp on tonight," she said. "I'll start from the beginning." Gideon didn't answer right away. Then he reached past her and lit the second lantern on the wall. The flame caught slow, then steadied. "Don't stay up all night," he said. She didn't look up. "I won't." He stood there a second longer than needed. Then he walked out. Iris listened to his steps fade across the porch, the creak of wood, the quiet after. She sat alone at the table, the ledger open, the ink dry but the story underneath still shifting. A house that wasn't hers, a name she hadn't asked for, and numbers that didn't tell the truth. She dipped the pen, started again from the top. By morning, the numbers had settled into something clearer. Not honest, just clearer. Iris sat at the table with a chipped cup of coffee gone cold, the ledger spread open, pages marked with small, careful notes in the margins. The lamp had burned low sometime before dawn. No one had told her to stop. So she hadn't. Bootsteps crossed the porch. Gideon stepped inside, hat still on, sleeves rolled, dust along his shoulders like he'd been out before sunrise. He paused when he saw her still at the table. "You didn't sleep." "I slept enough," she said, though her voice gave her away. He didn't argue. He walked over, set a folded receipt beside her hand. "Grain delivery, yesterday." Iris glanced at it, then back to the page she'd been marking. "That one's wrong too," she said. He waited. She turned the ledger toward him, tapping a line with the end of her pen. Same supplier, same weight listed twice, but only one payment recorded. And the other? Gone. Gideon leaned forward, bracing both hands on the table. His shadow covered the page again. "Who signed it?" Iris flipped back a few pages. "Initials only. Could be anyone trying not to be seen." A chair scraped behind them. "You looking for something?" The voice came from the doorway. Owen Price stood there, hat tipped back, hands resting loose at his sides. Sheriff's badge catching the morning light just enough to be noticed without being shown. His eyes moved from Gideon to Iris, then to the ledger. "Didn't know bookkeeping started before breakfast out here," he said. "It starts when it needs to," Iris replied. Owen stepped inside, slow, casual. He picked up the receipt Gideon had brought in, read it once, then again. "Funny thing," he said, handing it back. "I saw that wagon come through town yesterday. Didn't look like it was carrying enough to match this." Gideon's jaw tightened, just a little. "You saying someone's shaving off the top?" Owen asked. "I'm saying someone's taking more than they're owed," Iris answered. Owen nodded, like that lined up with something he'd already been thinking. "Town's talking," he said. "About you two." Gideon didn't react. "Town always talks," Iris said. "True," Owen agreed. "But today they're watching." He tipped his head toward the window, where the road ran straight past the ranch gate. "They're expecting a show." Iris followed his glance. "Clara's gathering folks this afternoon," Owen added. "Churchyard. Calling it a charity event." Gideon let out a slow breath. "Of course she is." Owen looked at Iris. "You'll be there." It wasn't a question. Iris closed the ledger. "I suppose I will." The churchyard in Dry Creek looked different in daylight. Less dust, more faces. Tables set up with linen cloths, baskets of food, women in clean dresses, men with hats in hand, talking low but watching everything. Watching her. Iris stepped down from the wagon beside Gideon. The boards creaked under their weight. A bell rang once from inside the church, then went quiet again. Clara stood near the center table, gloved hands folded, smile already in place. "You came?" she said. "Seems you wanted me to," Iris replied. Clara's eyes flicked to Gideon, then back. "I wanted the truth to come out." A murmur passed through the crowd. Someone set a book on the table between them. A ledger, not the one from the ranch. A copy. Clara rested her hand lightly on it. "We've had some concerns," she said, voice carrying just enough. "Discrepancies in accounts tied to Hale Ranch." Iris didn't move. Clara opened the book, turning it toward the crowd. "Missing payments, double entries, money unaccounted for." The murmurs grew. Clara looked at Iris. "You arrived, and suddenly things don't add up." Iris let the silence sit. Then she stepped forward. "May I?" she asked. Clara hesitated just long enough for people to notice. Then she nodded. Iris opened the book, flipped a page, then another. "Who wrote this?" she asked. Clara's smile held. Does it matter? It does, Iris said quietly. She reached into her satchel and pulled out the real ledger, set it down beside the other. The sound was soft, but it cut through the noise. She opened both, pointed. Same date, she said. Same shipment. But this one, she tapped Clara's copy, adds a second delivery that never happened. She moved her finger to the real page. And this one shows the actual payment. The crowd leaned in. Clara didn't look at the books now. She watched Iris. Anyone here see 2 wagons yesterday? Iris asked. Silence. Owen stepped forward from the edge of the crowd. I saw one. A shift moved through the people. Iris didn't raise her voice. Then someone wrote a second one. She closed Clara's ledger, gently, like it didn't deserve to be slammed. The murmurs turned. Not gone, just redirected. Clara's smile didn't break. Interesting, she said. Very interesting. Gideon hadn't spoken yet. Not once. Iris felt it. The space where his voice should have been. Then he stepped forward. No speech. No defense. He picked up the real ledger and placed it in the center of the table. Left it there. That was enough. The crowd fell quiet again. But Clara didn't step back. Not even a little. She smoothed her gloves, eyes steady. This isn't finished, she said. Iris met her gaze. No, she agreed. It's not. The bell rang again. No one moved to leave. They just stood there, watching, waiting. That's what the town did best. Even after the crowd thinned and the tables were cleared, the feeling stayed. It followed Iris all the way back to the wagon. It sat beside her on the ride home. It settled into the ranch like dust that didn't shake loose. No one said much that evening. The men worked later than usual. Tools hit wood harder. Gates closed sharper. A storm that never came hung low over the hills. Inside, Iris returned to the ledger. Not to prove anything now. That part was done. She worked because it steadied her. The numbers didn't lie if you looked long enough. A page turned. Then another. A loose slip of paper slid out from between 2 entries and drifted to the floor. She picked it up, folded, creased twice. Not part of the book. Her name wasn't on it. But she knew it was meant for her the second she opened it. The ink was hurried. Elias Bennett detained. New Orleans. Debt claim. Immediate payment required. Her breath stopped somewhere between her chest and her throat. She read it again. Then again. The words didn't change. A chair moved behind her. You going to tell me what that is? Gideon asked. She didn't turn. My brother, she said. Silence. Then his steps, slow, coming closer. He stopped beside her, not touching. Just there. Where? New Orleans. How much? She swallowed. Doesn't say. Gideon nodded once, already thinking ahead. We'll send a wire. Get details. I know a man. A knock cut through the room, not loud, but sharp. Gideon turned. Iris didn't. Come in, he said. The door opened. Silas Hale didn't wait to be invited twice. He stepped in like the house still answered to him. Coat clean, boots polished, eyes already set on Iris. I won't take much of your time, he said. Gideon's jaw tightened. You're done taking time here. Silas ignored him. His attention stayed on Iris. I heard about the trouble in town, he said. You handled yourself adequately. Iris didn't respond. Silas reached into his coat and placed an envelope on the table. Thick, sealed. Your brother, he said. Unfortunate situation. Gideon went still. Iris didn't look at him. Where did you get that? she asked. I make it my business to know what affects this ranch. And I affect it? You already have. A pause. The room felt smaller. Silas rested his hand lightly on the envelope. The debt is real. The claim is legal. If it isn't paid, your brother won't leave that cell. Gideon stepped forward. We'll handle it. Silas finally looked at him. No, you won't. A beat, then back to Iris. I will. The words settled heavy. Iris looked at the envelope now. Didn't touch it. What do you want? She asked. Silas smiled, faint. Nothing complicated. He pushed the envelope closer. Enough money to settle the debt. Enough to make sure your brother walks free and stays that way. Gideon shook his head once. Don't. Silas didn't look at him. You leave, he said to Iris. Quietly. No scene. No return. The fire cracked in the hearth. No one moved. Gideon's voice came low. You don't get to make that call. Silas's tone didn't change. I already have. Iris's fingers rested on the edge of the table. Still. Not trembling. Not reaching. Does he know? She asked. No. Gideon took another step. Say another word and what? Silas cut in, calm. You'll refuse the only help she has? That landed. Not loud, but deep. Iris closed her eyes for a second, then opened them again. How long? She asked. Gideon turned to her. Don't. She didn't look at him. Silas answered. You leave tonight, that's all. And the money? Yours the moment you're gone. The room held its breath. Gideon's hand hit the table. Not hard, just enough to make the ledger shift. We can fix this, he said. You don't have to. I know, Iris said softly. That stopped him. She picked up the letter again, folded it once more along the same lines. Her voice stayed steady. I know. She reached for the envelope. Didn't open it. Just held it. Then she set it back down. No, she said. Silas's expression didn't change, but something behind his eyes did. You misunderstand, he said. This isn't a negotiation. Iris looked at him fully now. It is for me. A long second passed. Then she stepped back. I'll leave, she said. Gideon's head snapped toward her. But not for your terms, she added. Silas watched her, measuring. I leave because I choose to, she said. Not because you paid me to. The difference sat between them, clear, unmovable. Silas straightened. As long as you go. Iris nodded once. That was all. She turned, walked to the small rack by the door, and took the key Gideon had given her the day she arrived. Set it on the table, right beside the ledger. She didn't look at Gideon when she passed him. Didn't slow. Outside, the air had cooled. Night settling in. A horse shifted in the dark. The ranch didn't stop moving. It never did. Behind her, the door stayed open. No footsteps followed. Not yet. The gate creaked once as Iris pushed it open. The hinges needed oil. She'd meant to fix that. It stuck halfway, the way it always did, then gave with a soft groan. She didn't look back. The road out of Hale Ranch cut through dry grass and low stone. Her boots picked up dust with every step. By the time she reached the bend, the house was gone from sight. Only then did she stop. The envelope felt heavier now. Not because of the money, because of what came with it. She found a rock near the edge of the road and sat. Broke the seal. Counted nothing. Just watched the paper inside. A receipt. Stamped. Signed. New Orleans. Her brother's name was there. But the date. She frowned. It was wrong. Too clean. Too recent. Like it had been written after the fact, not during. Her fingers tightened on the edge. She read it again, slower this time. The numbers didn't line up. Not with the letter. Not with the amount claimed. Not with anything that made sense. Iris folded it back carefully, slid it into her satchel. Then she stood. Didn't turn back toward the ranch. She kept walking. Dry Creek came into view just past noon. Same streets, same boards, same faces that remembered more than they said. She didn't go to the store. Didn't go to the hotel. She went straight to the marshal's office. The door was open. Owen Price looked up from his desk, hat tipped back, sleeves rolled. "Well," he said, "didn't expect you back so soon." Iris stepped inside, closed the door behind her. "I need you to look at something," she said. He watched her for a second, then nodded toward the chair. She didn't sit. She laid the receipt on his desk instead. He pulled it closer, read once, then again. "Where'd you get this?" "From someone who wanted me gone." That was enough. Owen leaned back, let out a slow breath. "I've been waiting for a piece that didn't fit," he said. "This might be it." He opened a drawer, pulled out a ledger of his own, thin, marked. "Clara Whitfield's been moving money through a few hands," he said. "Didn't have proof it tied back to the ranch." He tapped the receipt. "Now I might." Iris didn't ask questions. She didn't need all the pieces, just enough to know where to go next. "When can you move on it?" she asked. Owen closed the ledger. "Soon as I've got something solid enough to stand in front of." She nodded once, turned to leave. "Miss Bennett," she paused. "You don't owe that place anything," he said. She didn't answer, because that wasn't what this was about. The road back felt shorter, or maybe she just walked faster. By the time Hale Ranch came into view, the light had shifted. Late afternoon settling in, shadows stretching long across the yard. Something was off. The gate stood open. Not half. Not stuck. Wide. Inside, voices carried sharp. A horse kicked against a stall. Wood cracked somewhere near the barn. Iris didn't slow. She stepped through the gate and kept going. Gideon stood in the yard, back to her, shirt sleeves rolled, hands clenched at his sides. Across from him, a man she didn't recognize, dusty coat, hat pulled low, argued in a low, fast voice. "Told you this wouldn't hold," the man said. "You needed someone who knew the books." Gideon didn't answer, didn't move. He just stood there, holding the space like it might fall apart if he stepped wrong. Iris reached into her satchel, pulled out the receipt, walked forward. Neither man noticed her at first. Then the stranger did. His words cut off mid-sentence. Gideon turned. His eyes found her, stayed there, didn't move closer, didn't speak. Iris closed the distance between them, set the paper on the barrel beside him. Flat. Clean. "I think you should look at that," she said. His gaze didn't drop right away, stayed on her a second longer, like he was trying to decide if she was real. Then he looked. His hand came down, picked up the receipt. Read once, then again. Something shifted in his jaw. The man across from him stepped back. Quiet now. Gideon lowered the paper slowly. "You left," he said. Iris met his eyes. "I did." A beat. "You took his money." "I didn't spend it." That landed. He looked at her again. Really looked this time. The dust on her hem. The line of her shoulders. The way she stood. Not asking. not waiting. Just there. I was wrong, he said. It came out low, not forced, just true. Iris didn't answer. She didn't need to. He set the receipt down, looked past her, toward the open gate, then back again. You don't have to stay, he said. No contract, no terms, no crowd watching. Just the two of them, and everything that had already been said without words. Iris glanced toward the house, the barn, the ledger still waiting inside, then back to him. She stepped past him, picked up the key from the barrel where it had been left, turned it once in her hand, then walked toward the house. The door opened with the same soft creak. Inside, the ledger sat where she'd left it. Dust hadn't settled yet, not fully. She set her satchel down, took her place at the table, dipped the pen, started again. Outside, the gate stayed open, but no one was leaving. Not this time. The wind moved soft across the yard, carrying the quiet sound of work beginning again. Wood set back into place, hinges tested, a gate finally fixed the right way. Inside, a lamp burned low over a ledger that had been torn apart and written back into truth. Nothing about it felt grand. No speeches, no promises dressed up pretty. Just two people who had both walked away once and chose in their own time to walk back. Gideon never asked her to stay again. Iris never asked him to explain the past. But in the small things, the way he paused at the doorway instead of filling the room, the way she left a second cup of coffee on the table without a word, they built something steadier than any contract could hold. Out here, in a place where storms could take a roof in one night and leave you starting over by morning, love didn't come from perfect beginnings. It came from what you were willing to face, and what you chose not to run from twice. So if you had been standing in her place, holding that key, knowing what it cost to return, would you have stepped back inside? And if this kind of story stays with you, there are more waiting, quiet, human, and worth the time it takes to listen.